I've always been a huge fan of nostalgic and action-related movies. I grew up watching many of them in my teenage years. However, there is one I personally love the most, and that is James Cameron's Avatar from 2009. You know the movie, where Jake Sully becomes a Na'vi and associates himself with the rest of the Na'vi tribe, and even ends up in a relationship with a female Na'vi named Neytiri. Yeah, that one. That movie, to me personally, has always been one of my favorites growing up. But that all changed as I discovered something rather off as I watched the movie again. So, remember that one scene where Jake Sully and Tsu'tey have an argument that immediately turns physical when Jake explains that everyone needs to evacuate because the Sky People are coming to destroy their home? Well, the scene begins as normal, with Jake saying the usual, "Tsu'tey, don't do this." Tsu'tey, as normal, aggressively walks up to Jake and pushes him onto the ground. However, things began to go dark, and this was something I was not expecting to happen. Tsu'tey began beating the ever-living crap out of Jake while he was down, punching him constantly as his nose starts to bleed and he can barely fight back. And this is when Tsu'tey then began to take out his blade and stab Jake repeatedly in the stomach. I watched in shock, as I had never seen this happen before last time I watched the movie. This is when I began to hear Neytiri crying as she watched this in horror, while some of the Na'vi were cheering on, watching this go down, which was disturbing. Moat, who is Neytiri's mother, was even watching this in utter shock and was even crying. We then see a very close zoom in on Jake, who is on the ground as his entire body went limp, barely moving, and was lying in his own pool of blood. I almost felt sick to my stomach seeing this. I know there's a lot of violence in this movie, but I didn't expect it to be extremely gory and fucked up. Tsu'tey then stands up after he finished off Jake, and that's when Neytiri started crying again as she saw Jake's corpse. What really both disturbed me and had me very emotional was the sound of Neytiri crying. I know she's a loud sobber when her father, Atukin, dies, but the way she cried here almost sounded like as if the actress itself had to witness her boyfriend get brutally murdered by an ex-boyfriend. After that, the screen cut to black. I sat there in utter shock and disgust as to what I just witnessed. I had no idea why this scene was never in the movie. I assumed it might have been an alternate scene, and they never shown it for many reasons, due to the extreme violence and gore that was put in it, so they had to take it off. However, I'm not too sure if that alternate scene exists anywhere on the internet, as it remains lost and never to be viewed. And I think it's for the best. I'm not too sure who thought it would be okay to make that scene a thing, as if it was some sort of sick, twisted joke or whatever, but whatever you do, don't go on looking for this alternate scene. It's hidden for a reason, never to be viewed by anyone, and I think it's for the best that no one goes looking for it.